Well, isn't that a special rendition of Tin Man? Somebody fed the squirrels. That was pretty funny, and I have no way to figure out how that happened, so we'll see what happens. I will play something else on the bottom end of the hour. My name is Bill Miksch, ladies and gentlemen. I'm president of WDMA Financial Group in Grayslake, Illinois, where we have clients in 16 states around the country. Very proud of that moniker. We are going to take you through another excursion in your insurance corner tonight. We are going to cover, we're going to get more detailed tonight on Medicare and Medicare supplements and original Medicare and Medicare Advantage and what's covered and what's not and what the penalties are. This easily could be a 2-segment or a 3-segment show. We'll see how things go. But this was prompted in large part for things that happen in my office on a daily basis. I am honestly, and Sean, when Sean calls in, I'm assuming he's going to call in. I don't think he's traveling today. I'm blown away by, and this is not, I'm not trying to be offensive to anybody, God knows, because this is inherently complicated. But I'll say it this way, nobody talks about what do we do when we turn 65 until you get there, and then you kind of go into panic mode. And then the worst thing that you can do is ask your friend or neighbor or colleague at the office, what should I do? What do you know? What do you know? What do you know? And no offense to your friends, as I like to say, their heart's in the right place, but they don't know what they're talking about. You don't go to a brain surgeon to have your knee replaced. It's not complicated. So you want to make sure you get good counsel, good advice from a professional who knows their way around. Every state is different, and I'll give you an example. Those listeners that are up in Wisconsin, for example, you actually have to build a Medicare supplement program. It's not like Illinois, for example, or a lot of other states where you just pick a Plan G or a Plan N if you're going to buy a Medicare supplement after you get your Part A and Part B. So in Wisconsin, you have to build things, and it can be confusing even to the agent unless they live there and they're used to that kind of an arrangement. In other states, after your first initial go-around, most Medicare supplement plans, for example, are going to cause you to go through underwriting. Notice I didn't say Medicare Advantage plan. I said Medicare supplement. So we're going to get into those kind of things, and we're going to talk about what Medicare does not cover. And that's an important commodity, folks. As one example that I'll share with you right now, and we'll get into this a little bit deeper, is preventive care, as opposed to what they say in the literature for Medicare is wellness care. They make a very clear distinction between wellness care and preventive care. And I'll just leave that little teaser out there for you guys to catch up. So with that, welcome. This is 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. We're coming to you live from the studios in Round Lake Heights, Illinois, right next door to the Round Lake Heights Police Department. So I always feel pretty safe and secure that this studio, while it's got hermetically locked doors and pretty secure in general, I'm pretty safe here. If I walked a few miles down the road either way, I would not have that same feeling necessarily. But right here where I'm at, we're pretty safe. So, and honestly, in Chicago, folks, you could say that on any block, that any block in the city of Chicago, particularly the city, you can go on any block and you might have to be looking over your shoulder a couple of times as you're walking to your destination. So, welcome everybody. I'm going to cover a couple things as I like to before we get into the topic. Football's over. Kansas City won. Great game, not double overtime, but certainly a full extra quarter, and literally down to the last second. So now we are getting ready for baseball. The professional baseball teams have gone to their spring training in either Florida or Arizona. So I know the Cubs and Sox and Brewers are all in their spaces. I'm a big Cub fan, ladies and gentlemen. The White Sox are, I'll tip my hat to them, but I'm not a fan. And Milwaukee is the devil incarnate. So, so sorry, Wisconsin fans, but that's the way us Cubs fans feel. And when we go to a Cubs game in Milwaukee, some of us call it Wrigley North, just so you know. March Madness is just around the corner. Colleges are going to start doing their conference playoffs shortly here. And then, as I've been told by my son Ryan, who is a sports aficionado, we are looking at March Madness starting, I believe, on March 11th. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And then high school basketball, at least in Illinois, I can't speak to Wisconsin, folks, sorry, but in Illinois, high school basketball playoffs are going to be starting. My kids all went to Warren High School in Gurnee, Illinois, and I think they're ranked 8th in the state. They were 26-4 for the season, if I recall looking yesterday. So excited for them. I may go see a game. It's fun to go watch high school football or basketball here at WLCB. There's a group of radio aficionados and broadcasters that will go to Wisconsin or Northern Illinois football games to broadcast those high school games, and they're very good at it. I've joined them a couple of times, but those guys on the radio doing those games are very, very good. But anyway, high school basketball is starting. And then at the middle of March, ladies and gentlemen, yours truly will be heading to Cave Creek, Arizona for a few days. May or may not have a show on that weekend. March, I believe it's 14th through the 17th, I will be in Cave Creek, Arizona for my best friend's 65th birthday. So here's to you, Glenn. I'm raising my cup of coffee to you. My buddy, Glenn, and I have known each other since I was 6 and he was 7, so we've known each other our entire lives. So I'm excited about that. And then lastly, as you know, Billy D is my alter ego, and Billy D has finally released his first single called Falling in Love. It's streaming live on all kinds of different stream sites like Pandora and Spotify, iTunes, etc. You can look up Billy D. It's Billy D Unplugged. So if you get a chance, look up Billy D Unplugged. There's one song out there, and there's more to come. We're going to be cutting about 3 or 4 more songs a couple weeks from now, and hopefully by the end of the spring, we'll have a full CD. So the bumper song that we play at the bottom of the hour, Don't Burn the Bridge, is also a part of that CD detail, and so we're excited about that. And thank you, Dale Tippett, for producing and putting up with me, because I can be a challenge when it comes to the songs. Anyway, so we're going to get right to it. I'm not sure. Sean didn't tell me he was not going to be here today. At least I don't recall. So if he's not coming or calling in, we can take phone calls, folks, at 262-342-6588. That's 262-342-6588. As I like to say, call on any subject matter short of auto and home insurance or business insurance. I am happy to take your question, and I dare you to stump me. Every now and then I get stumped. Just yesterday, as an example, and I'm looking into this right now, folks. This is actually a complicated situation. I have a client who has an aunt who migrated from India. She had a green card up until calendar year 2022, and then she became a U.S. citizen. She's now 77 years old. She has not been enrolled in any kind of a health care plan since she's been here. Lucky for her. But now the family, my client's family, is concerned, so we have to look to find out what our options are. This person has no income, did not work 40 quarters or 10 years, was not married to somebody who worked 40 quarters or 10 years and paid into Social Security. So what are her options? She could buy into Medicare Part A, because Part A is generally free for the vast majority of us, but for those people who fit into her box, she would have to pay a $505 premium per month for Part A, which is hospitals. Part B is going to be $174.70. And then the supplement is, at her age, probably plus or minus a couple bucks, $190 a month. So that can be expensive if you have zero income. And even if you said, well, Bill, put her on a Medicare Advantage plan, that's all well and good, except the out-of-pockets could be ranging upwards of $5,000 to $8,000. So we're digging into whether or not Medicaid can participate with her. And so far, the limited research I've done on this subject matter looks like she can qualify for Medicaid as long as she's a U.S. citizen. The question then becomes, does she have to be in Part A and B, and how does that work? And can she get any financial help from the state or the federal government with regard to premiums, since she has no income? So stay tuned, folks. This is a lot of moving parts here, very complicated. It's not easy to research this subject because there's not a lot of information. And the one thing I found out the hard way is you cannot call an 800 number at the state of Illinois, and dare I say probably any other state, without having going through a litany of press 1 for this, press 2 for that. And I didn't want to apply, which was what the state wanted me to do. I just wanted to call and ask a couple of questions, and that's almost impossible, it seems to me. I may try later on this week and just go through the process, but everything being equal, there's not a lot of information to say, in this example, how to address it, how to fix it. But in the short run, it does look like she could qualify for Medicaid. The only question then becomes, how does she get into Part A and Part B, and what does she have to pay, especially if she has no income? Her family will take care of it, but it's messy. So, all right. So we're going to get into Medicare, the basics. And when I started putting this thing together earlier this morning and a little bit in my head last night, my first thought was, what does Medicare not cover? And I'm like, okay, that's a good place to start. However, before I get to there, I just want to cover some of the basics so that we just remember what Medicare is, where it comes from, where it started, how many people are covered, etc. So let me just lay out some facts for you. First, Medicare was created in 1965 by the Lyndon Johnson administration. And it was there to help seniors at that time deal with Medicare medical costs that weren't otherwise covered by union plans that had retiree coverage or something else. The government made a decision to make sure that their seniors were going to be taken care of so they wouldn't go bankrupt if they had a medical emergency, particularly in their older years. Fast forward to now, there's 12,000 people every day, folks, in this country turning 65. 12,000 a day. Now, I didn't do the calculation on that, so I'm going to do that right now and see what that looks like. Let's see, 12,000 times 365 days. That's 4,380,000 people a year turning 65. Now, does that mean they are eligible for Medicare? Yes, it is eligible. I want to underscore the word eligible for Medicare, but that doesn't mean they have to sign up. And this is where I get my shorts in a knot, folks. I hear this all the time. A friend of mine told me I should sign up because if I don't, I'm going to get penalized. And I just want to scream. You would get penalized if you were a late entrant, you were eligible, and you didn't sign up. However, if you're still working and you work for a company with more than 20 or more employees, you do not have to do anything. No Part A, no Part B, no nothing. Because the government, by rule, knows that you have creditable coverage, and honestly, they don't want you on Medicare if they can offload you to a United Healthcare plan or a Blue Cross or Aetna or Cigna plan or some other kind of employer-based medical plan. They're happy to wait for you. No problem. So you don't have to sign up for Part A or Part B, period, full stop, as long as you're working for a company that has more than 20 employees. Now, I've also heard, and I've seen, where clients have said, well, I was working, so I didn't think I had to sign up. There's literally 13 questions that I ask people when they're signing up for Medicare, folks. I'm not going to go through those 13 questions now. I have to resurrect them from a previous radio show. But one of the questions is, what size company are you working for? More than 20, less than 20? Matters. It matters. As I just said, over 20, you don't have to do anything. Under 20, yes. Under 20, you absolutely have to sign up, and here's why. Your medical plan, if you're on an employer-based plan, and sometimes you have to be if you've got younger spouse or kids on the plan, you have to stay there. The group plan will become secondary to you, the senior citizen, the 65-year-old. Your kids and the spouse will be primary still, in my example, but you will become secondary. Medicare will become primary. If you don't get Medicare Part A and B, then the insurance company who is in a secondary position is going to pay the claim as if Medicare paid. And so, keeping it simple, Medicare is going to pay 80% of the bill. There's some other moving part deductibles. I'm not going to get into that for this example. They're going to pay 80% of the bill, and your supplement would normally pick up the other 20%, less any kind of deductibles that might be in play. So when it gets to the group plan and their secondary, they will assume in the processing of that claim that Medicare has already participated. So let's just say you had a $10,000 medical bill. They're going to take $8,000 off and process the $2,000 that's left. That's what they're going to do, and apply it to whatever the group medical plan is, whether it's a big HSA plan or a plan with big deductibles and copays, etc. They're going to apply the $2,000 that's left, which means that $8,000 never got processed, which means that provider is going to bill you for whatever Part B didn't cover, and your supplement, I should say, your medical plan didn't cover, plus the $8,000 that was assumed to have had to been covered by Medicare. So it's a critically important scenario that you make sure that if you're working for a small company, less than 20 employees, that you seek counsel as to what to do, how to get signed up, and when. And we're going to cover the when in a few minutes. All right, so just a couple of other tidbits on this. The program right now covers 57 million people under Medicare Part A and B that are over 65, and another 8 million who are on Social Security disability or other kinds of disability things like end-stage renal failure or Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS. There are 4 parts to Medicare: Part A, Part B, Part C, and Part D. So let me take these one at a time. Part A. Part A covers hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, some home health care, and hospice care, which is end-of-life stuff. In order for Medicare to cover a medical expense, whether it's Part A, B, C, or D, it must be medically necessary. It cannot be custodial. That means if you're at home and you need help bathing, getting dressed, help feeding, going into the bathroom, etc., there are 6 areas that you could fit into in that space. If you just need help in that space and it's not medically necessary for an LPN or other kind of a nursing assistant comes in to help you, a CNA, Medicare is not going to cover that, period. But assuming it's medically necessary, Part A is hospital, skilled nursing facility, some home health care, and hospice care. Part B, let me back up one other thing about Part A. If you worked 40 quarters, or you're married to somebody who's worked 40 quarters or 10 years, they've paid into Social Security, you will get Part A for free. Period. It will be free. If you didn't work the 40 quarters or the 10 years, and you've got no way to assimilate yourself to another person, then the premium is $505 a month for Part A. Very few people have to pay that, but for people like my client who's got an aunt who is an immigrant, never paid into the system, no income, she would be a person who may have to pay that Part A premium. Let's talk about Part B. Part B is everything else. Doctors, surgeons, emergency room, urgent care, lab and x-ray, diagnostic testing, outpatient services, durable medical equipment like wheelchairs, crutches, splints, IVs, those kinds of things. That's Part B. The premium for Part B in 2024 is $174.70. That's assuming you qualify under a certain income threshold if you're single or filing jointly. I'm not going to go into what's called the IRMA tax, so we've covered this before, but just suffice it to say, if you made more than about $90,000, and I'm going off the top of my head here, so give me a little wiggle room, as a single person 2 years ago, it's not current, it's what you made 2 years ago, or as a couple filing jointly, you made less than 190, let's say, it's somewhere in that space, then your premium $174.70 per person is rock solid. If you made more than that on a 2-year look back, your premiums are going to start to index up and can be as high as almost $600 a month per person. If you made, I think the threshold in that space is more than $750,000 as a couple. Again, adjusted gross income, but it's a 2-year look back. It's not current. Let's talk about preventive care and wellness. This is a thing that kind of makes my head shake a little bit, kind of like shake my head, don't understand. So when the Affordable Care Act was passed, the big deal was preventive care, not just wellness, but preventive care. So they made sure you had a physical or some semblance of one. It's kind of been, pardon my expression, bastardized a little bit by the way in which they define wellness exams, but we'll go past that for the moment. Preventive care in Medicare is not the same as preventive care under an employer plan or an Affordable Care Act plan. It's more like wellness exams. It's not a routine physical. In fact, routine physicals by themselves are not covered. So what is covered? They are called screenings. So you can have a colonoscopy, colorectal exam, a mammogram, an abdominal aortic aneurysm screening, alcohol screening, a blood biomarkers through blood tests, cervical exams, diabetes screenings, depression screenings, flu shots, glaucoma screenings, hepatitis B and C screenings, HIV screenings, pneumonia shots, shingles, a PSA exam, prostate exam. Those are the kind of wellness screenings that are permitted under Part B. If you're not getting those kind of screenings, then it has to be medically necessary. And again, Medicare will cover after a $240 deductible. Medicare Part B will pay 80%, you pay 20%. Those two pieces are considered original Medicare. Those are the original two pieces. And back in the day, when they started this thing, it was kind of like the wild, wild west of Medicare supplements. There was good stuff out there. There was stuff that was sold by a bunch of shysters that would try to sell Granny down the river for just to make a buck. That come full circle, I think in the 90s, early 90s, the government decided that supplements at that time had to be streamlined. Whether it didn't matter what insurance company was going to sell them, they had to be the same. They could add some stuff, but they honestly had to be the same. So right now, today, your supplement, your best supplement available, notice I didn't say Medicare Advantage in this case, your best supplement is Plan G. There is also a G high deductible, and there's a Plan N. There's a couple other ones, folks, and I wouldn't even bother looking at them. In my judgment, they're junk insurance. There are other supplements. I think they're called L and M as in Mary. But the focus would be Plan G is your best option. Plan G, high deductible, where the deductible in today's dollars is a $2,700 deductible. Your premiums are significantly decreased. Or a Plan N. A Plan N might have a $20 copay for doctor visits and a $50 copay for emergency room or urgent care visits. But Medicare supplements, which is Part C, Medicare supplements only cover Medicare original related expenses. So they don't cover dental, they don't cover vision unless there's a medical issue. So routine vision exams, routine dental exams, not covered. What else? Hearing aids are generally not covered, or hearing tests. They may have discounts for those kinds of things, and some may offer some gym membership discounts, but they don't build them in. If you want dental or vision and you want a Medicare supplement, you are going to you are going to have to buy those separately. And it may be in your best interest to do that. So Part C, let's break down Medicare supplements a little bit more. A Medicare supplement is a plan that says as long as your doctor accepts Medicare, you can see any doctor from Maine to Hawaii. Period. You're not limited to a network. You can go anywhere you want, especially if you're traveling. You don't have to worry about what doctor or hospitals. You don't ever have to worry about hospitals, but you don't have to worry about doctors so long as they accept Medicare. And you can go anywhere you want. Again, they don't cover the dental, the vision, the hearing exams, those kinds of things. Those are extra. And Medicare supplements, the best plan available is Plan G. They will cover all medical expenses covered by Medicare Part A and B, except for the $240 deductible. The best supplement will also cover excess charges. What are those? Excess charges are a charge that a Medicare doctor can charge. He can charge up to 15% above what Medicare approved. Plan G will cover the excess charge. Plan N will not cover the excess charge. And that 15%, folks, can be sizable. Let's just use a $10,000 medical bill, and the doctor charged $10,000, which included that extra 15%. That can be sizable if you're going through some medical expenses. You're thinking you've got a $240 deductible, and here comes an extra $1,000 coming down the track that you didn't see coming. So when you're buying these things, you have to pay attention. Excess charges are a big deal. Well, we're at the bottom of the hour. This is 101.5 FM, WLCB, Slade's Corner, Wisconsin. My name is Bill Miksch. We'll be right back after these short messages.